Today I woke up smiling. And I'm going to tell you exactly why, because Newcastle United are linked to yet another Brazilian, but it isn't just any old Brazilian. It's a Brazilian wonderkid, according to the media, Rayan Vitor, 19 years old, from Vasco da Gama. So I want to tell you everything you need to know about him, and you might say, what qualifies you to speak about him? Well, I'm going to show you exactly why in the video. But firstly, Eddie Howe and Jose Mourinho been speaking about the game tonight. Yes, we're playing Benfica tonight. Why Sandro Tonali might not be playing. But let's start with Eddie Howe, because he first spoke about Benfica and he just spoke about their attacking threats, which I spoke about in my preview. So I'm not going to read all of this. He was just talking how it was going to be a tactically interesting game, which I do think it will be, because I think we'll see a contrast of styles. One team coming on to the other team trying to break on the other after sitting in a low block. But the most important thing he said was about Sandro Tonali. He said there's a bit of illness for Sandro, so he will be touch and go for this game. We'll give him the opportunity. He wasn't there for training today. He's such an important player, and we'll use all the hours we have. Look, he is an important player, but if he's not healthy, if he's not fit, let's rest the guy, because I don't want him to have burnout. I'd rather him be fit for Fulham on the weekend. Let's see what Jacob Ramsey can do. Let's see what Lewis Miley can do in the midfield with Bruno. I don't want to overdo Sandro Tonali. As good as Sandro Tonali is and how important he's been for us this season, let's give him this little bit of a rest. He's not 100%, which means he might not be 100% on the football pitch. That's just my opinion, but I want to know your opinion. Would you start him and bring him off after 60 minutes? Or would you start Lewis Miley and Jacob Ramsey? Because I always say one door closes, another door opens. Now it's time for Lewis Miley and Jacob Ramsey to say, yeah, I want this shirt. So they've got to go out and perform. I'm not saying they'll get the shirt, because that's a different story, and we're talking about two different level of players. But I've got a funny feeling if Sandro Tonali misses a game, Joe Linton will start the game. But for me, I think both of them could do with a rest. If it was my preference, I'd want Sandro Tonali to play, obviously. But if he's not 100%, I think we should just say, take it easy tonight. We'll see you on Saturday when we play Fulham. That's just my opinion. But he did speak about Newcastle's season overall, and he was speaking about how it was a frustrating time, and I don't want to talk about it at all, but he says that our defensive performances have been excellent, but we are struggling to create chances, which is exactly what the fans have been saying all season long. Now, the reason I put this on the screen is because that last sentence, this is something I always say in my videos. You make your own luck in football. You can only turn things your way by continually doing the right things. I don't think we're far away. We just have to keep to our beliefs. And what do I always say in my videos? As long as players individually and the team collectively are continuously doing the right things, eventually the results will come. It's once the things they need to do, they stop doing, that's when you don't get results. Players will miss chances. Players will misplace passes. Defenders will make mistakes, and they will be punished by it. Throughout the season, probably every player in Newcastle United squad will make a mistake at some time. Doesn't mean we need to sell them. Doesn't mean we need to get rid of them. It just happens in football. You get a split second to make a decision. Sometimes you slip. Sometimes you just miskick the ball. Sometimes you just aim for the wrong area of the net. That just happens in football. Unfortunately for defenders and goalkeepers, sometimes it does cost you a goal. That's just natural. It's the game. But as long as the team and the individuals continue to do the right thing in terms of the manager's instructions, and then the results will come. One thing I will say about creating chances, we got a lot of our chance creation because of the dynamism from Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento, or Tino Livramento at left back when Lewis Hall was injured last season. We got a lot of our expressiveness and courage to create from those fullbacks. We don't have those profile of fullbacks right now, so you have to compromise. If your fullbacks aren't going to be the one that get into advanced positions, your midfielders need to do it. And I think this is the where Eddie Howe is going a little bit wrong. I think he's expecting his front three to do everything, where in reality, they can't do everything. Sometimes you need deep runners to move oppositions out of their position to then create space for your front three to run into. That's the sort of thing I'd be looking at. So in this game against Benfica, I want to see Bruno in advanced positions. I want to see Jacob Ramsey, if he plays, getting in behind, running into the final third, picking up pockets of space, because that's how you hurt the opposition. If you're just playing everything in front of the opposition, It's so easy for them to defend. And then Jose Mourinho had his press conference. And to be fair to Jose Mourinho, right, he always speaks positively about Newcastle United. But one thing about his words here, not one single lie is being told. He went, at this stadium, the people, in terms of Newcastle United fans, don't come here to watch the game. They come here to play alongside the team. The city has a totally different culture to London and big clubs like Chelsea and Arsenal. I love coming here to play. It's beautiful. It's an extraordinary atmosphere in the stadium and its city. And to be honest, I'm not even going to lie. I know he's just doing this to butter up Newcastle United fans before becoming the pantomime villain during the 90 minutes. And then after the game in his post-match interview, he'll probably butter us up again. And that's the way Mourinho is. That's his charisma. That's his character. And I absolutely love it. But I actually agree with him. I think when you've got a one-club city, when you think about London, you've got multiple different clubs in lots of areas, whereas Newcastle, it's one city and the stadium's within the city centre. Not many football clubs can generate that emotion that Newcastle United do, and that's been part of our success over the past 4 years. Yes, Eddie Howe's done a wonderful job. The players have been absolutely everything and given everything on the pitch, but the fans have played their part. They feed the energy, the atmosphere into that stadium, and it absolutely helps. So I think although we should be proud of our team, we should also be proud of ourselves. So whoever's watching this, give yourself a pat on the back. So now it's time to speak about the young Brazilian. To be honest, I had a video made today to speak about some left backs, and then we got linked to Rayan Vitor, and I thought, I can't miss this opportunity. I've got to speak about Rayan Vitor. And you're probably sitting there thinking, what qualifies you to speak about Rayan Vitor? Like, you're probably sitting there saying, you probably haven't even watched him play. Like, I have watched him play. And this is a guy I've followed for a long, long time. And I'm going to prove it to you. Now, I'm not doing this to sit here and say, oh, look at me, I'm the best. I'm just doing this to prove that I've watched the guy. So when I speak about him, I kind of know what to expect from him. Back in 18th of March 2023, there's a post from me about Rayan Vitor. And then on February 24 this year, this is before Vasco da Gama activated a 1-year extension, I posted, Ryan's contract expires 2025. Newcastle United in desperate need of a right winger, don't miss. Powerful and direct threatening dribbler, thrives in one-on-one situations, known for his pace, acceleration, robustness, and ball striking. I'm not going to lie to you guys, for a couple of years now, Rayan Vitor has been one of the most exciting talents coming out of Brazil. Not because he's lit up Brazil with unbelievable amounts of goals, because he hasn't generally, but more about his profile. He is one of the most complete profiles you'll find because you can use him in many different ways, and he's got many different ways he can punish your opposition. Whether it's be comfortable in tight spaces, he stands at 6'1", but he's incredibly technically good with the ball at his feet, or he's been dynamic and electric in driving in open spaces. And if you don't believe it from me, let's hear what his managers had to say about him. Now, his managers had to say about him. Now, it might not all make sense because it has been translated, but I'll do me best. He's tall, fast, left-footed, he has a good shot, and now he can enter the box and score with his head. He recovers well and closes down well. He can play as a winger, false 9, number 9, or on the other wing. Then he went on to say Rayan is an extremely different player, one of the few Brazilians football forwards who is complete. He goes on to say it's high, but it's, he means he's. So he's high, fast, left-handed, kicks well, enter the area, and make a good headed goal. Again, he says it instead of he. So he picks up well, closes well. You can play high end, false 9, number 9 at the other end. So his record for Vasco da Gama's senior team, he's played 87 times. Now, the majority of those have been coming off the bench. Scored 19 goals, provided 2 assists. And then this season alone in 2025, he's played 35 games, scored 15 goals, provided 1 assist. Let's have a look at some of his best attributes and what you can expect from him on a football pitch. We will talk about his weaknesses very shortly. So, primary role, he's a right winger, although he's versatile across the front line and can operate on the left wing or as a striker. Now, I want to talk about his flexibility because he offers you positional flexibility because he can play as a striker, he can play on the left, he can play on the right, but he also offers you tactical flexibility because he's got that maturity in his game that he can adapt to different tactics. And I'm going to prove it to you right now, because when you look at his last 7 games for Vasco da Gama, he scored 6 goals in 7 games, and that's his heat map. You can see the majority of the games, he likes to come on that right-hand side because he's left-footed, so he likes to receive the ball there where he can cut inside, and that allows him to create or score himself. But when I say he's tactically and positionally flexible, let's break it down even further, because within those 7 games, I'm going to show you 3 different positions he's played and he's had a good game and scored a goal. So the first one is typical Newcastle United 4-3-3 system. As you can see, he scored 2 goals in this game, playing in that Anthony Elanga role. So he's comfortable in the exact same formation that Newcastle United play, but he can also adapt to play as a striker, because in another game, these are within the past month, he scored playing as a striker. He come off injured that game. I was actually watching that game. That was the last game. But he scored as a striker. And again, he's got a different formation behind him. So the system changes, but he's mature enough to adapt to that system and still impact the game, is what I'm trying to say. Now, if you look at a different system, it's the same system as what I've just showed you. But instead of playing as a striker, he's playing as a right winger. So these 2 systems are the same, but he's offered that positional flexibility. So he's contributing as a right winger, but he's also contributing as a striker. Now, when you change the system, can you adapt? Yeah, because this one is a complete different system. The previous one was a 4-2-3-1. This one is a 4-3-3, and he's adapting tactically. Not many young players at the age of 19 can do that. So you've got to give him credit for the positional and tactical flexibility that he can offer. A lot in today's football, a lot of managers are looking for players that can adapt and play different roles, because it become a massive asset. That's why for England, you often hear like pundits saying, oh, he might go because he can play left back and he can play right back. For example, Tino Livramento. So those are the players that managers are looking for now, because if they ever do need to change the system mid-game or anything, they've got the profiles to do it. And that's one of the biggest positives when you're looking at young players, because that shows maturity in their game. If you was dropping absolute stinkers as a striker, but having absolute phenomenal games at right wing, you'd probably think he wasn't a striker. So what's a description of his style of play? Well, he's left-footed, which is a massive positive, because in our midfield or our forward line, we do not have any left-footed players. We only literally have Dan Burn and Lewis Hall, I think. So being left-footed gives him a natural edge of cutting inside to either shoot or create for his teammates. He's explosive, quick, strong, courageous, very good in tight spaces, but dynamic in open spaces. He can hurt the opposition in many different ways. So what stands out the most when it comes to Rayan Vitor? Acceleration and power. Excellent physical imposition, and blends it with pace and coordination. He's comfortable in contact situations. Now, I remember in his younger days when everyone was saying he was going to be the next Adriano, he had that physical profile to him. Now, a lot of people have caught up to him and developed a bit more, but at that stage when he was like 16, he stood out above everyone, and everyone thought he's not a winger. He doesn't look like a winger because he was towering above everybody, and he had this lovely body mass about him. Now, again, a lot of people have caught up to him, but he's still got a nice build to him. And I think that's why he's comfortable playing as a striker, because he's got that ability to back into defenders. He's got that ability, that strength to protect the ball when the ball's at his feet. So again, that's a big positive when you come into the Premier League, because to succeed in the Premier League, you need to be strong. You don't need to be tall, because you can have short players that have got low center of gravity and are extremely little strong. Like, for example, Hazard doesn't get the credit for how strong he was. But if you've got pace and athleticism, that really helps. And that's something that Rayan Vitor does bring. So what's he like with the ball at his feet? Explosive dribbling, surprisingly nimble dribbler who excels even in the tightest areas of the pitch. His pace and quickness makes him dangerous on counter-attacks, but he's also a willing runner and a threat in behind. What I do like about him is he's got the ability to drop deep, receive the ball and progress and put his team into advanced positions, but he's also got the ability to run in behind if you need to. So you can use him in many different ways. You can give him different instructions depending on the opposition that you're playing. And one advantage of him dropping deep and receiving the ball, he's a direct ball carrier, direct runner who likes to drive at defenders. He has this long stride and running power to be a threat in open spaces. So I'm going to say it, I believe he's an excellent dribbler. He's really effective when he's attacking from deep areas or on the wing. And we will be looking at statistics very shortly, just after I speak about his finishing, because he is clinical in front of goal. I mean, 6 goals in his last 7 games, 1 penalty. Okay, five open goals in his last 7 games in senior football isn't bad for any striker. Now, he's also got interesting finishing from medium to long range. He's got that ability to strike from distance, and although he prefers his left foot, and he will also always try and get a shot off on his left foot, he's comfortable finishing with his weaker foot. Now, one thing extra that Rayan Vitor does bring, he's excellent in the air. You don't get that from wingers very often, but he is very, very good in the air. So when he arrives in the box late or attacks the box late, he can be really dangerous. This season, he scored 8 goals with his left foot, 2 with his head and 1 with his right foot. So he shows a little bit of versatility in his striking. Now, one thing he's excellent at doing is those low-driven shots, especially when he comes inside on his left foot and he can bend it into the far corner. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that, because now we're going to look at his shot selection and shot location. The top one is his shot selection, so that's where he's selecting to place his shots. The bottom one is his shot location, where he's taking his shots from. Now, he had an XG of 7.39 and he scored 11 goals, so he's overperforming his XG, which is really impressive. Let's concentrate on the top one. As you can see, when he's looking to bend it in that left-hand corner or the keeper's right-hand side, he's extremely accurate. Now, he doesn't score many when he's looking to cut it across or with his right foot, so that is an area for improvement. Can he be a little bit more unpredictable in scoring from different angles? But like I say, he's highly successful when he's aiming towards that bottom left-hand corner. But I do admire the variety. I love it how he's trying to hit different corners, whether that be the top corner, the bottom corner. So I would be, if I'm Eddie Howe and I'm looking at that, I'd be working on improving hitting those bottom corners more accurately where he's not scoring from. As you can see, when he's hitting the left-hand corner, he generally gets them right in the corner. But on the other side, where he's successful, where the football's grayed out, they're a little bit towards the centre. I would be saying, let's hit more towards that post, and those shots will turn into goals. But when it comes to his shot locations, there's good and there's bad points. Let's speak about the good points. He's confident and comfortable enough to take shots from outside the area and from tight angles. Now, he's not very successful from outside the box. He's hit the target 12 times from outside the box. The rest have been off target, and he scored 1 goal from outside the box. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't mind players taking shots from outside the box, because if you don't shoot, you're not going to score. I would just tell him to calm it a little bit. But as you can see, when he's inside the box, he's extremely clinical from all different areas. He scored from the right-hand side, scored from centrally, scored from the left-hand side. So he's extremely comfortable taking shots with either foot inside that penalty box. Obviously, he's scoring more goals on the left-hand side, where he's shooting a cross goal with his left foot. And that's because he's naturally left-footed, but he's very comfortable taking shots and opening up angles with his right foot. I don't mind that. Let's have a look at some of these statistics, because I want to start by his goal and shot creation. Now, I will have them on the screen for you to see. He's averaging 2.71 shot creating actions per 90, which is quite high for somebody so inexperienced, which has him in the top 20 percentile for forwards across Europe. So although I would like to see his creativity improved a little bit, it's really not bad for somebody with just 87 senior games. Now, when it comes to the defensive side of the game, Rayan Vitor actually works really hard. As you can see, he's inside the top 12 for almost all the defensive metrics. Tackles, he's averaging 1.19 per 90. Successful dribblers tackled, he's averaging 60%. He's in the top 4 percentile for tackles and interceptions combined. So he's one of those players, if he loses the ball, he won't just sulk. He'll try and win it back, and that's an Eddie Howe type of player. When it comes to possession, this is what I was talking about. He's extremely progressive. He's averaging 2.26 progressive carries per 90. He's sitting in the top 4 percentile for carries in the final third, carries in the penalty area as well, and he's averaging 2.23 take-ons per 90. So not only is he finishing chances or being a threat in the final third, he's getting involved in the game. He's putting his team into dangerous areas, and that's a real positive. Does it always come off for him? Absolutely not. Is he the perfect player? No, he's not, because we are going to talk about his weaknesses now. Because when you speak about his weaknesses, first of all, he's raw and inexperienced. He's still adapting to the physical demands of senior football. His intensity can fade late in matches as a high-profile product, and he was getting hyped up during his youth career. There's a lot of pressure on him. So mentally, that could dip as well, which has a dip in his form, but he is very raw and experienced. And you'll see that in these games. Sometimes when he's receiving the ball, he'll open up his body in the wrong way, and he'll lose possession. Sometimes in the final third, he will make the wrong decision. Sometimes his shot selection is incorrect. That all happens with an experienced player. So when you're signing a player from Brazil like this, if we do sign him, that's what you've got to expect. He's not going to be the finished article. You've got to expect some inconsistencies in his game, especially from a forward, because they're the ones that take the risks. So my second point of his weaknesses is shot selection. Now, I've already spoken about this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but he just needs to improve his composure in front of goal and in the final third. And then risk versus reward. I always speak about my forwards, my wingers. I want them to take risks, but I want them to take risks at the right times. Occasionally, in dangerous areas, he can over dribble and he holds on to the ball for too long. So he just needs to understand about his position on the pitch, the danger behind him, what can happen if he loses the ball, and when to release the ball a bit quicker. I've also put off-ball movement in there. Now, he is a willing runner off the ball, but sometimes against structured defenses, he sometimes just drifts rather than running with purpose. He's much better when the game's opened up a little bit and he's got space to run into. But when he's looking to find space, sometimes it just looks like he's just getting into space knowingly that he's not really impacting the game. He's not creating space for anybody else, and he's not creating space for himself to impact the game with purpose. And that all delves into creativity. By not releasing the ball quick enough, by not moving into the best space possible, that all impacts his creativity. But what also impacts his creativity is sometimes he dribbles with his head down and he doesn't understand positional play around him, which massively impacts his creativity. Because sometimes he's like, he pins up his man, he's going to beat him, he beats him, and then he's not looking up and he just crosses without any purpose, or he plays a pass without any purpose, or he tries to take on another man when he should be releasing the ball. So it's all about just understanding your whereabouts, because in senior football, it is a big step up from youth football. And I think he's realised that a little bit, and he's shown progression since he's arrived in senior football, which is a massive positive because it shows that he's learning. Like I say, he's definitely not the finished article, but he is one of those upside signings that you do sign. I'll give you a couple of examples because Besiktas signed Cani Arroyo, who is an Ecuadorian. He scored in his second game for them, and then he didn't really find his feet, and he couldn't get settled into life at Besiktas. They signed him for 5 million. Didn't work out after a year, so they sold him for 8 million. This is what I'm talking about, upside signings. If you sign a player like this, the reward completely outweighs the risk, because even if it doesn't work, you've got the opportunity to sell him on for profit, if not the exact same money that you do sign him for. And on the flip side of that, Porto have signed somebody for 9 million called William Gomez. He has been excellent for them, and he's somebody I want Newcastle to look out for their left wing. So these are the opportunistic signings I want Newcastle United to make. Now, I'm not saying all the time, because you need this experienced players. You need to sign those Sandro Tonali's. You need to sign those Brunos. You need to sign those Joe Lintons. You need to sign those Dan Burns in order for these youngsters that you do sign alongside them to flourish. Now, one last thing I want to do, look at just something like this, just while I make my last and final point. Rayan Vitor's profile, tactical flexibility and positional flexibility is a dream for a manager, because his age, his ability to adapt to different situations allows the manager to mold him into a player he wants. So if it was up to me, I would take the risk. I actually said it earlier on in the year, but it's not up to me. It might be up to you though. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know your comments in the below. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, away the lads.